Good morning, it's 8 o'clock. Before we go into election coverage, our main focus remains today, as it has been on NDTV throughout this pandemic, on the health and humanitarian crisis India currently faces. As I speak, Indian lives are being lost, not just because of COVID, but also because of the fact that they're not getting enough oxygen. We saw the disaster, the tragic disaster that happened in Delhi yesterday when 12 people died in a hospital, including a doctor. People are dying because they don't have oxygen, they don't have beds, they don't have medical supplies. As we report election results, our focus will also remain, as it has from day one, our main focus center stage on what this crisis is that we're going through, who's accountable, and how can we actually change and work together as we cover this.
Yeah, that's right, Sonia. It is going to be a kind of a split focus to keep our eye very much on what's happening with the coronavirus story, but also getting into the nitty-gritties of how this election, held in the shadow of the pandemic, has been playing out. And we continue to be joined by our panel. Dorab Sapariwala is with us, Sagarika Ghosh is with us, and Ram is with us, as are several others. But let me just go first straight across to my colleague Saurabh Gupta, who is joining us from a counting center in Kolkata. Monadipa Banerjee is also with us because Bengal really has been the highest of the high stakes of all these elections. It almost sucked the oxygen out of the room when it comes to all the other states. But Saurabh, you were telling us that because now at any minute counting is going to start, and you are saying that there is going to be counting with COVID protocols. But last time when you panned the camera, it looked like there were crowds there outside the counting center.
Well, yes, you know, there were crowds there, but constant announcements by the police, altercations in some cases over people not wearing masks, and that was outside a counting center. Now, here, of course, I've moved from there to, of course, Mamata Banerjee's residence, and here too, of course, you know, a crowd of reporters, because at the end of the day, while this pandemic has been difficult for even political parties, it is, so to speak, the TMC's, you know, headquarters, election headquarters. And this is, of course, Mamata Banerjee's residence. So here too, of course, the focus is on maintaining COVID protocols. But of course, everyone will ask whether it's come too late, because lives have been lost, and the Election Commission's decision to hold elections in the middle of a pandemic, spread over 8 phases, massive super spreader events, all of these things will be questioned. Candidates losing their lives to COVID, unbelievable, unimaginable actually. But you know, that's been the story across the country, and even in an election state, and for a state that's seen so many super spreader events, at least now what you get a general sense on the ground is that there's one of relief that at least these massive events will stop. Celebrations are to be muted. Trinamool supporters have been told not to gather here at Mamata Banerjee's residence. Social distancing has to be maintained. The state is already seeing a surge in COVID cases, and while counting is on, the focus still remains on the COVID situation, because that's something that this election has been all about.
All right, okay. Saurabh, thanks very much for that. Monadipa, you know, the pandemic, of course, is going to be a big challenge for whoever comes to power. But at this point, what's the sense that you're getting from the Trinamool camp? Because they started off this election campaign with a great degree of confidence with the Khela Hobe slogan. But now, towards the end, are you beginning to sense that there's some amount of tentativeness, is some kind of nervousness creeping in about whether they've actually managed to cross the line?
Well, officially, no. Officially, anybody you speak to in the Trinamool Congress, you know, even off the record, they will tell you, oh, we are crossing 180, and there's no question about that. A lot of that confidence, ironically, is based on the COVID surge that we went through during phase 6, 7, 8, certainly, even a bit of 5. You know, in these 3 phases, we saw that, you know, there was a concern about COVID that grew, and then it was reflected, at least in Kolkata, very clearly in the poll turnout. Kolkata polled very poorly in comparison to the past at about 60%. So there are concerns about how the pandemic is going to affect the votes in the last three phases, and therefore there are concerns on both sides. The Trinamool is saying it will play in their favor. The BJP says it'll play, it'll probably hurt them a little bit, but not much. Trinamool Congress at the moment officially saying confident, but scratch beneath the surface, and there is nervousness because we've seen the exit polls, which sort of are on the edge. 160 seats, 164, right. 168 maximum, and that's when there are concerns about something that Mamata Banerjee has spoken about, that unless she has more than 200 seats, there will be a very strong possibility of perhaps horse trading. That is a huge concern in the Trinamool Congress.
Right.
If the polls are anything to go by, it's a concern that they will carry with them till the end of polling day today. Unless there is a clear majority, there are concerns. BJP also determined that they are getting 180. So both sides claiming 180 plus, but concerns in both sides that they may be nowhere near that number.
Right. That's actually a good point, Enram, that when it comes to particularly this BJP, it's not over till it's over. The election necessarily is not the final outcome. That there still could be an outcome after the outcome. You've seen that in states like Madhya Pradesh and elsewhere. And so parties like Trinamool Congress, Mamata Banerjee, will need that extra cushion. And in fact, if you look at what happened in Assam, you had a situation where even before the results, MLAs that were a part of the Congress Mahajot were actually being moved out, Enram, from Assam. Some were taken to Rajasthan. Some, I believe, were actually sent to Malaysia, but then they had to come back because of the pandemic.
Yes, Vasu, the Congress started this game a long time ago, using the state machinery, but nobody has used the state machinery in such concerted fashion as the BJP, whether it's the Enforcement Directorate, Income Tax, right. CBI, the whole the coercive apparatus of the state is brought to bear on
the entire.
That's a very good comment.
Yeah.
It's a quotable quote that the election is not over.
It's not over till it's over. In fact, we've just got our first lead in. It's actually come from West Bengal. It's come from Bankura, which is in the southwest of West Bengal, which falls broadly in what is called the Jangal Mahal region. There, the BJP is gaining from last time. This is from the 2016 Vidhan Sabha election, where the BJP frankly just got 3 seats, so it's likely to see a lot of gains today. But at the moment though, Dorad, these are still postal ballots that are being counted.
We shouldn't look at them at all. I think they're very, very misleading. They're postal ballots, and there's a small number of ballots. So I think it's best that for at least until 8:30 we do not give much credence to the results that we see, because I don't think they're going to be reliable. And I think we should also start looking at the situation of the TMC and the BJP vis-a-vis the 2019 polls.
Yes.
The 2016 polls, they got virtually no seats. So it's no sense comparing with 2016. If BJP gets 100 plus from 2019, it's got almost the whole Vidhan Sabha. So I think let's look at 2019 as the comparable point. Because that's the one that matters. They're at 121.
Sure. We'll try to get our graphics to reflect both 2016 and also 2019, that is Lok Sabha by Vidhan Sabha. But we're also just getting another lead. Again, as Dorab says, these are all with the caveats that these are postal ballots. They're very early. But this is from Canning Purba. This is Suburban Kolkata. The TMC at the moment is holding here. These are strong TMC areas. Monadeepa Banerjee, the southern part of West Bengal, particularly the Kolkata and the greater Kolkata region. But again, very, very early days.
Vasu, may I come in for a minute?
Yes, please do.
If you look at the 2019 results by assembly segments,
yes,
there are 96 segments in what we call Calcutta and suburban Calcutta regions. Yes. In that 90, the BJP won 80. And outside, it lost to the BJP. The Trinamool won 80.
The Trinamool one,
So
yes.
Trinamool won last time because of Calcutta and suburban Calcutta.
Yes.
They have to hold on to that. Because elsewhere, even last time at the Lok Sabha, the BJP got 105 seats,
Yes.
and the Trinamool got only 84 seats. Trinamool got half its seats last time from what we call Calcutta and Suburban Kolkata constituencies. So they have to hold on there if they don't have to hold Calcutta.
I completely agree with you. I think that region is going to be crucial because that's the only region where the BJP can expect to make big gains, and if the Trinamool is not able to hold on to that region, it's going to be in some trouble. We're also getting some leads.
Just on Bankura.
We're also getting some leads. Just a second, Sagrika. We're also getting, I think, our first lead from Kerala. We'll try and get that up on the screen for you. The LDF is, the Left Democratic Front, is holding Kozhikode North. This is in the Malabar region. Malabar region, of course, is actually quite a strong hold for the CPM because that's where the Chief Minister comes from. That's his home region. And that is something that they're holding at the moment. But again, very, very early and with all the caveats about, postal ballots. Yes, Sagrika.
Just on Bankura, Vasu, I want to say that, Jungle Mahal was the original growth area of the BJP in Bengal.
Yes.
In a contrast to the other states where the BJP first does well in urban areas and then moves into rural areas, in Bengal, the BJP has actually started in the rural areas, Jungle Mahal, North Bengal, and then moved into urban.
Yes.
So its growth area has been from Jungle Mahal and Bankura. And of course, this was a region that it swept in the 2019 Lok Sabha polls as well. If you remember, the 2019 Lok Sabha polls saw the BJP completely dominate North Bengal as well as, Bankura, Purulia, and these areas. So
yes,
it's not surprising that the BJP is gaining in Bankura at all.
Okay, and now we have 4 leads coming in from West Bengal.
Bankura, now the Congress is leading.
Sorry? Go ahead, Dorab.
The Congress is leading in Bankura. These are all postal votes, small numbers coming in.
Oh, the Congress I don't think we should even think about in Bankura.
No, so at the moment we've got 4 leads coming in.
Exactly what I'm saying. Wait for the votes to come. Wait.
Yeah.
Congress leading. We might say Congress forming the next government in Bengal looking at these votes. So is it worth looking at these votes is the question.
Okay, I don't know, Dorab, where you're seeing a Congress lead in West Bengal, but perhaps...
on the constituency list. On the constituency
in the constituency list. Okay, at the moment, though, we've got 5 leads coming from West Bengal. BJP
is BJP, my fault.
Yes, okay. 5 leads coming from West Bengal, and at the moment, it is 4 to the BJP, it is 1 to the Trinamool. The change, as Dorab is pointing out, from 2019, looking at the 2019 change, which is more significant, is the BJP is actually up 3 from 2019 and the Trinamool Dorab is down 3 from 2019.
Correct.
So that's the 2019 comparison.
Wow.
Assam, we've got 3 leads.
And then Calcutta.
Sorry? We'll have to see
where
Calcutta.
Leading in Calcutta, suburban Calcutta.
Right.
Which is the Trinamool stronghold.
Yes, that's right. Yes, the BJP's actually made a big play for Kolkata and its suburbs, so it's quite possible that there might be some upsets there, but we'll have to wait and see. Let's just also quickly look at now Assam, where we have 4 leads coming in, and the BJP is at 3. The Congress is 1. The BJP is actually gaining 1 at the expense of the Congress. These are leads coming in from Nalbari in Lower Assam, BJP holding, in Gopur, Upper Assam, BJP holding, and also in Bilaspara West, where the AIUDF, I beg your pardon, of Badruddin Ajmal is holding. And also we've got now a total of 7 leads from Kerala, where the LDF is at 4 and the Congress is at 3. But Dorab, these are 3 leads for the LDF at the expense of the Congress.
Yeah.
So
yes. That's early days, but still early days. But regardless, it's results. 3 seats is a hell of a lot. And I think the polls are suggesting something like that. So let's just look at the.
Yeah, because the thing, and Ram, is that you know, about Pinarayi Vijayan, because there's been this tradition in Kerala, a bit like Tamil Nadu, that it's always a seesaw between the LDF and the UDF. For 40 years, it's been like that. Exit polls suggesting that that might finally break this time. And when I was traveling in Kerala, it's fair to say that you didn't actually come across a lot of anger or anti-incumbency against Pinarayi Vijayan. In fact, talking about COVID, that's one of the states where actually people are largely quite satisfied with the way the state government has handled the COVID, the welfare measures provided and so on and so forth. So we'll have to see if that actually stands Pinarayi Vijayan in good stead.
Yes, I think it's particularly the handling of this challenge, but also a series of challenges. The Nipah virus, the flood, 2 floods, the way it was handled. But also, Vasu, there is public pressure in Kerala, which helps a lot, so that expectations are high. So I think people, but this chief minister, I think, has shown a unique, I think the performance has been unique in India among major states in responding to this challenge. The cases, as you know, are very high because they decided that any Keralite or Malayali who's abroad can come back. They didn't try to stop it. But the way it was handled, I think, still constitutes a model. Despite the fact that the cases are rising, the death rate is extremely low.
Right.
They're delivering provisions and food to homes.
Yes.
They looked after migrant workers. I think all this has had an effect. There's no doubt about it.
In fact, the CPM is actually gaining in the Nemam seat in Trivandrum, where the BJP president is actually fighting, and that was a big prestige battle between the BJP and the Congress, and the CPM is gaining. But again, postal ballots. So we have to be very, very careful. We have our first lead in from Tamil Nadu, and let's try and see if we can pull that up on the screen for you, because Tamil Nadu so far is the only state where we've not got a lead from. And I beg your pardon, now it's actually gone up to 2. So you've got Sholingur in the north, where the PMK is actually gaining. They're an alliance partner of the ADMK. And then Katpadi again in the north, where the DMK is actually holding. And another lead has come from Chengalpattu, again in the north of Tamil Nadu, I beg your pardon, where the DMK is actually still holding. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But I just wanted to get a quick comment again from you, Mr. Ram, about the Tamil Nadu picture, because all the polls are showing a complete landslide for MK Stalin. But when I was there, I didn't get that sense of that extent of anger or anti-incumbency against EPS. In fact, I think if it is going to be a landslide in Stalin's favor, it's likely to be a bit unfair to EPS. He did manage to sort of hold the ship together. The party didn't crumble, did a reasonably good job of handling the pandemic. There were floods, there was drought. So it could just be, in a sense, fatigue of having a ADMK government for 10 years.
2 things, Vasu. There's no doubt that EPS's stock has gone up, political stock in this election. But there were too many weaknesses. I'm not going to go into that. The second thing is, there's one particular poll which I thought a lot of, which I was part of the panel discussion, Pudiya Thalaimurai, which showed that it was support for change rather than anti-incumbency that really would determine this outcome.
Right.
And I think that's true. So, but MK Stalin's stature rose very, very fast during the pandemic. There's no doubt about it. People are on the ground, feelings of reporters. You saw the Lok Sabha results. There also the anger was not very obvious, but I think it was a silent wave. They got 38 out of 39 in Tamil Nadu, and of course Puducherry.
Right.
39 out of 40 in the Tamil areas, so I think that's not going to change very much. But during this period, yes, it's fair to say that the chief minister exceeded our expectations.
Sure.
At the rate of growth for the opposition leader, the DMK president, was much higher. That's how I'd see it.
Right. And one of the things could be weighing him down could be that BJP alliance, but we'll just come to that in a second. Before I hand back to Sonia, who's going to take us back to our focus on COVID, just look at how the numbers have changed in West Bengal in just the past literally few minutes. Now it's the TMC with 28 leads now from West Bengal. TMC is actually leading in 16 of those. The BJP and the TMC plus allies, BJP and its allies, leading in 12. The TMC is down 3 from 2019, Dorab. But at the moment, again, you know, these are postal ballots. It's going to keep seesawing. So TMC taking a slight edge there. So we will come back to all of this. Fascinating stories emerging from these states. But for now, Sonia, over to you.
Right, Srinivasan, those leads coming in, and of course, they're fascinating, but also numbers that were just coming in were of Kolkata, where in fact the deaths, they've crossed 300. This is the highest ever in Kolkata. The cases also at a record high. So really, it's a tragic dance in a sense. We got election results coming in. You've also got latest numbers coming in from various cities and states. UP again at a new high. But let me just go across, because we're not taking our focus off what is really our big story, and that's the SOS for oxygen. Sukirti joins me now from Batra Hospital. And Sukirti, really, Batra Hospital is where you were yesterday when that tragedy hit of 12 people dying, including a doctor. And you can imagine what doctors and nursing staff, healthcare workers are going through. What is the situation like today? Because this is more than a week since hospitals started calling out for oxygen. The High Court has been hearing this case daily. There still hasn't been a system where doctors can focus on saving lives and not worry about getting oxygen. What's the situation today?
Well, yes, the situation on ground in Delhi continues to be worrisome. We registered over 25,000 cases in the last 24 hours and a record high of daily deaths, with over 412 deaths being reported. The death mark went over 400 for the first time. Now, as far as the oxygen situation is concerned, yes, outside the Batra hospital right now, this is the place where we are. 12 lives were lost here, including a doctor. But as you said, that this crisis has been going on for more than 10 days now, and still SOS calls from the hospitals continue. Even if I talk about just about 12 hours ago until last night, there were so many hospitals, Bhagat Chandra Hospital, World Brain Cancer Hospital, all of these places, these hospitals received oxygen at the last moment after raising alarms. Many others like GTB Hospital, like Rajiv Gandhi Super Speciality Hospital or the Gangaram Hospital had oxygen supplies left only for about 1.5 to 3 hours. That is the point at which they received an oxygen tanker. Aam Aadmi Party MLA Mr. Raghav Chadda, if we just go to his Twitter timeline, one would be able to see how the Delhi government tried to manage tankers last moment for multiple hospitals. All of that, those tweets are full of all the SOS calls that went out from hospitals across Delhi. And that is something that is constantly being raised across hospitals and also in the Delhi High Court, where the court has now asked centre to assure that the supplies that the centre is supposed to provide to the Delhi government, those are given on time. There is a certain quota that has been allotted for Delhi and that has to be fulfilled. And if the central government does not do its job, then contempt of court proceedings will be issued against them. So court has taken a decision, but on ground things still very risky at this point of time.
No, and of course, and this is something which is meant to be personally monitored, as the centre told the court by the Prime Minister and Home Minister. We need to find out why that oxygen which is promised to Delhi is not coming. Not just Delhi. We know the same situation in Gurugram in Haryana, also in Uttar Pradesh. So really this is an emergency situation. But let me just go across to our other reporters, Sneha and Meher joining me now. Of course, the big solution to the virus, so the focus is being now on vaccinations, opened up for all. But Meher, where you are currently, and Sneha in Kerala also, what exactly is the situation? Sneha, of course, there it's the irony that you're covering vaccinations, the virus and election results. Latest leads showing a very tight fight between the two main fronts there, but between the vaccine and the virus seeming to be way ahead at the moment.
Well, that's right, Sonia, and that's the unfortunate thing. But let me give you glimpses from what's happening outside the counting centre. We are in Kannur, and this incidentally is the home district of the current Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan and the Health Minister KK Shailaja. Whether this will continue to, whether they would continue as the Chief Minister or Health Minister is something we'll get to know in few hours. A tough competition between the two fronts. But here, let me just show you. This is a mobile ambulance, which is also being converted into a van where the antigen tests are being done. So anyone who is coming into this counting center, either you have had to have an RT-PCR test or you have to get an antigen test, and then only you're allowed. You can of course see people wearing their masks. strict regulations on ground. Only people who are being exempted from these tests before entering is those who have got their 2 doses of vaccination. But that is literally a challenge in Kerala. Well, 18 plus people have been allowed, according to the central government, to take their vaccination. That's not happening in Kerala in any time at any time soon, and primarily because the left government has said they do not have enough vaccinations. They've given the orders. Serum Institute says by end of May only, the numbers that are coming in, the supply coming in from the central government is not enough, is what the state government says. And they want to focus on giving over the second dose to the priority group that have not received their second dose, but the time lag would have happened. So that being the focus. So or in terms of whether vaccinations are happening, only priority given to the second dose people, not enough happening. In fact, we're coming to you from Kannur, where several vaccination centers actually ran out of vaccines over the last few days because they had very, very limited stocks. So at the time when Kerala is seeing a test positivity rate of over 24%, cases are only increasing, availability of vaccination only exists as a major challenge, and whichever government comes into power, whether it be the left-led front or the Congress-led front, that's literally the challenge that they will have.
And they'll have to hit the ground running. I mean, that really will be key. Joining me now is Purva from Mumbai and also Meher from Delhi. Purva, over to you first, because you're at the BKC Jumbo Center now. Mumbai has scripted a turnaround in terms of positivity rate, which is great news. But the worry has been that in Maharashtra overall, we're not seeing a similar dip of cases and we're seeing a rise in deaths. Now, crowds have hit vaccination centers only after this latest wave. What's the situation there today? Are there enough vaccines? And is there worry over the fact that there's crowding at these vaccine centers as well?
Well, Sonia, absolutely what you said is Mumbai is right now seeing a little turnaround, if we can say that. But as far as the vaccination situation is concerned, well, the stock is not completely available. Now, right now, I am at BKC Jumbo Center. Now, this center is one of those 5 centers in Mumbai today which will be giving vaccination. And yesterday, when, for the age group of 18 to 44, when it started, that's when only 200 doses were available at each center. But today, the BMC has increased that to 500 doses, which means that 500 people who are already registered and who got the appointments, only they will be allowed to take vaccination. Also for the 45 plus and the 60 plus, there is no vaccination over the weekend in Mumbai. So definitely, even if Mumbai's positivity rate, in fact, if we can say that, it has come down by 10%, but in fact, the vaccination is a big concern right now, because Mumbai is not receiving vaccine. In fact, over the weekend, they received 20,000 doses only, which the BMC says that they want to stagger it across, and from Monday, hopefully full-fledged vaccination will happen. But over the weekend, there is no vaccination for the 45 plus and the 60 plus, but only for the 80 to 44 age group, and that is also very limited. Like Mumbai has over 130 vaccine centers, out of which you can imagine only 5 centers are taking out this drive, and that is also like a token 200 yesterday and 500 today. So definitely the people are in fact wanting to come and get themselves vaccinated, but vaccine is a big problem. As far as the cases are concerned, well, Mumbai cases are seeing a plateau right now, for nearly 4,000 for the past 1 week or so, which was earlier when April began, it was 10,000, 11,000 cases that you saw every day. But now...
Yes. Purva, I just want to go across to Delhi, because at least in Mumbai, you still got some government vaccine centers functioning. But Meher, the irony is in Delhi that in fact the state government has been able to start vaccinations yet because they just don't have the vaccine. So you're only getting private centers and only people who can actually afford it, because now they're about, I think Apollo said 1,250 a vaccine. So that's a pretty steep price for, say, the average population, which is the people you want to vaccinate. Meher, can you hear me?
In Panchsheel Park, which is one of 7 private hospitals which was meant to be vaccinating on day 2 of vaccinations in Delhi. But we've just found out that here, vaccination slots have been cancelled for today. So there are no slots available. People who come here in the morning, tried to get their vaccine shot, have been turned away. I have here with me someone who actually came for a vaccine shot, and we're going to talk to him about what the process has been like, whether he was told that his slot was cancelled. So, sir, your name, sir?
My name is Ravi Joshi, and I have already registered yesterday, and I had a good luck, while receiving the SMS for the vaccination. But here the person is saying that today vaccination will not be there, and somehow it has been cancelled from the government. So this is the information I have received right now, but they are not giving everything in the writing. There has to be some responsibility from the government, like who will be doing what and who is the responsible for all this, right? So nothing is happening in the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to register?
So it took me for 6 hours. I have been continuously trying, and within half an hour, all the slots were already booked.
And any official notification to you that your slot is
I received one SMS from the COVID side. Yeah, this is all I received. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as you can see here, the vaccine drive on day 2 is gone off to a shaky start. At first, they said vaccination would go on, but we are still waiting for official comment on whether the Delhi government has stopped this site from vaccinating people and whether all Max hospitals have stopped vaccinating today. Back to you.
Thanks, Meher. Let's go across to Harsha now. Remember, Rajasthan also saw by-polls, which results will be out for today. But Harsha, what's happening there? Because again, latest numbers which have just come in show that Rajasthan is again at a new high, especially in active cases.
Well, yes, absolutely, Sonia. And I just want to show you that I'm here at this community health center in one part of Jaipur. And you can see this health center has not opened, but people have already started lining up on a Sunday morning. So that gives you a sense really of how bad the situation is in Rajasthan. We were talking to the health minister. Now the active cases are over 1,86,000. So in that case, what happens is beds are available. He told us there is no shortage of beds. The real shortage is of oxygen. Now, Rajasthan needs about 365 metric tons given the active cases, but they're only getting about 330. That's way below what they need. There have been cases of deaths. In fact, 2 cases of people dying due to the lack of oxygen was reported in Kota. Luckily, after that, it hasn't been, such deaths have not been reported. But the situation is really bad and the health infrastructure is really creaking at the seams. In fact, Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot is very worried about the kind of weddings that are being organized in Rajasthan. So they've toned down the number of guests from 100 to 50, now 30. But finally, the Chief Minister actually had to appeal to people that please, if you can postpone your weddings, do that.
In fact, the Chief Minister himself is positive and in self-isolation along with his wife. But let's just go back to the other big numbers. And those are really the election leads, Srinivasan, that are coming in thick and fast. And in West Bengal, it's neck and neck.
Absolutely. In fact, it's fascinating how just in this brief time, how the story has been changing, not just in West Bengal, but state after state. Dorab is here with me. Dorab, let's just quickly run through this and give us a sense of how this is playing out. In West Bengal, Dorab, now there are leads from 73 seats, but again, these are all postal ballots across the board and likely to be the case for at least an hour. And it's literally now a dead heat, 36 for each of the BJP and the TMC. The only thing that will worry the TMC slightly, Dorab, is that the TMC is down 8 from 2019, not from 2016 where the BJP just won 3 seats, but they're down 8 from 2019.
If you're down from 2016, from 2019, you really do have a problem.
Yeah.
Because 2019 was neck and neck.
Yes.
So down from there, you have a problem.
You've got a problem.
And I think another surprising one is Kerala. I don't know where the figures are coming from, but
exactly.
Just
I wanted to go to Kerala next.
I mean, in terms of what one expects from the polls.
Yes. So
Kerala,
in
the
Kerala,
results so far are just
exactly.
Give me a sec, please.
So if we get Kerala up on the screen, so Kerala we have leads from 61, but here it's actually much closer than what the exits are suggesting.
Yeah.
The LDF is at 31. The Congress is right there on its heels at 27. Interestingly,
Congress is up 7, Basu. That's the thing. It's
yes.
not how many there are. You up or down.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes, absolutely, Dorab. LDF is down 10. Congress and its allies are up 7, and the BJP, Dorab, interestingly, is leading in 3.
Yeah.
Which is
You
a
see,
gain
don't
of
forget,
2.
the vast majority of results have come from Malabar. 35 of the results are from Malabar.
Right.
So, I think sort of that's the central region. That is where, this is an area, I'm sorry, the central, this is an area where.
This is the northern region,
Dorab. Strong, its allies should be strong. So, let us wait for a more balanced result. But the fact a gain is a gain.
A gain is a gain.
If I didn't win last time, and I'm winning this time, it's something good for me.
No, you're right. A gain is a gain. The Malabar region, which is the northern region, is where the Congress has a strong ally in the Muslim League, which did very well last time, the IUML.
But the question was still, if you're gaining, you're gaining.
I know, but I'm saying that those gains could be coming.
Anywhere. I didn't have that seat. Now
from
I have
the
that seat.
Muslim
You're
League.
right.
Okay.
From Malabar.
Okay, let's go to Tamil Nadu now. Tamil Nadu now, we've got leads from 21. Here, the trend, Dorab, seems to be broadly what the polls seem to be suggesting. DMK at 14 and ADMK at 7. DMK up 5 and ADMK down 5. So, they've just shifted from the ADMK to the DMK.
Yes, that's true. The BJP is leading. And the AMMK of Shashikala's or the Mr. Kamal Hassan, in the first 20, they are not having any impact at all so far.
None at all, and that was the sense on the ground as well, that they're unlikely to make any serious impact. Moving now to Assam, and here we have leads in 22. And here, at the moment, the BJP seems to be comfortably placed. They're leading in 12, the BJP and its allies. The Congress Mahajot is got 8 leads. And
down 2.
Yeah, down 2 actually.
Yes,
from Mahajot. Is actually down.
And the AJP has picked up those seats. The AJP is the old Assam Students Union.
Yes, that's right.
Somebody else.
This is the this is actually Lurin Jyoti Gogoi, the Assam Jatiya Parishad. He is a students union leader who is making his debut in this election. Part of this strong anti-CA movement. They have actually managed to lead in 2. And finally, we are starting to get the first leads from Puducherry. Let's not forget Puducherry, which is also polling today. 5 seats. There is expected, Dorab, the NRC, which is the Narayan Swamy Congress.
All the polls are saying that it is doing well.
Yes.
You're right.
That is up for the Congress, the gain of 2. The Congress is actually just leading in 1 minus 2. So,
well, the Congress wasn't expected to do well in any of the polls anyway.
Right. So the
big. And again, it would be interesting towards the end to know who is AMMK taking. This is the Shashikala's nephew, Dinakaran. Who is he taking the votes from? When the votes come in, we'll get to know that. So the NRC was seen as leading by almost all the polls.
Right. But Dorab, he may not actually be taking the votes from anybody because he may be a very marginal player. We already saw in the Lok Sabha elections, he barely got 3 to 4% of the vote. So both he and MNM of Kamal Hassan really didn't have much of an impact either way. But the big story really is coming from West Bengal, where at the moment the BJP is ahead at 42. The Trinamool is just behind at 39. But the important thing here to point out, I hope Monadeepa Banerjee is with us. If Monadeepa is there with us, we'll just come to her in a second. But the worrying thing, as Dora pointed out, Sagarika Ghosh, if she's there with us, is that the TMC is down 9 from the Lok Sabha. From the Lok Sabha count, the TMC is down 9, and that is something that should be worrying. Dora, just explain why the fact that the TMC is actually is losing ground from the Lok Sabha, that should be so worrying.
Well, that's Calcutta. Look at it. Look at Calcutta. Calcutta, BJP is up 8 in Calcutta and 7 in suburban Calcutta, 8 in suburban Calcutta and 7 in Calcutta. That's 15 seats. That is where she really beat the hell out of BJP last time. And this is where she's losing seats. Her 2 dominant zones, she's losing seats from those zones, And of course, the BJP doesn't seem to be dropping anywhere. Upper Bengal is even up, it's up almost everywhere, every state.
Right.
You know, and the other guys who have very few seats anyway are slowly getting wiped out. North Central, for instance, the left is wiped out. In the Central Belt, the left is wiped out.
Yes.
Southwest. So it's mainly the gains are coming also from other parties, which have not got any seats, but have got votes last time. So the few seats they've got are also now being, so it's becoming actually a two-party fight, and all the others, the Congress alliance, etc., being going by the wayside.
Right. So what used to be
2019.
Right. So the bipolar contest that used to be the left and the Trinamool Congress has now become the Trinamool Congress and the BJP. But this is something actually which would worry the Trinamool, as Dorab is saying, Sagarika, if they're losing ground in and around Kolkata, because that's where you've seen the migration of big leaders like Suvendu Adhikari crossing over, like others who have migrated away, and that is something that would worry the Trinamool Congress.
It's very worrying right now, Vasu, because, you know, the implications is Mamata Banerjee going to be able to win Nandigram? You know, again, is a question we need to ask, because if the Trinamool is not being able to hold South Bengal and is not being able to hold the Calcutta, Howrah, Hooghly area, then that is really quite a significant slip for the Trinamool, because, you know, we always knew that the BJP would be dominant in North Bengal.
Yes.
North Bengal, Bankura, Purulia, Asansol, Dinajpur, Kuch Bihar, this is all dominant BJP territory. This is where it scored big in the 2019 general elections. But in the 2019 general elections, Mamata Banerjee swept South Bengal. She swept Kolkata. She swept Howrah, Hooghly, all of these areas. Now, if she's getting damaged in these areas, if she's not being able to hold her core vote, then I think it's a very bad news for the Trinamool. Also, you know, Suvendu Adhikari, you pointed out, he has been a strong man of East Mednipur. As you know, the Adhikaris are a East Mednipur dynasty. Yeah. The brother of Mr. Suvendu Adhikari and the father have been MLAs and MPs from East Mednipur.
Yes.
So East Mednipur is his area, and he also is influential in the entire Kathi, Bankura area. So if he is able to swing that entire area for the BJP, then the question would even arise, is Mamata Banerjee's own seat in some kind of danger? Of course, it's too early to say that, but you know, Kolkata and Kolkata suburbs, Mamata Banerjee would have to hold and to sweep in order to withstand this kind of BJP challenge, because look at the rise in the BJP seats, Vasu.
Yes.
It's actually staggering. They're up, your leads are showing they're up 42 seats from 2019. So,
No, sorry, that's wrong. That's wrong. 42 seats up from 2016, not from 19.
2016. Oh, from 2016. I thought you said it's 2019.
From 2019, 7 seats up.
7 seats up from 2019,
yes.
But that's still a gain. And, you know, extrapolating from 2019, they were at 126 assembly constituencies in 2019. So if they're up 7, then you know, that's again
right.
a gain.
Okay, well, at the moment, let's just, at the moment, Nandigram, it is showing the Trinamool leading, but it's all very, very early postal votes, so that'll keep changing. So we can't get into that at the moment. But let's just go quickly now, state by state, because we have a flood of numbers coming in. So West Bengal, as you can see, it's absolutely neck and neck. It's 46 to the Trinamool, 43 to the BJP. But importantly, look at that number on the right-hand side, where it's actually the Trinamool gaining, I beg your pardon, the BJP gaining from the Trinamool in 2019. Assam now. Let's get the big picture numbers. This is just region-wise, but if we can get the Assam overall picture numbers of where we stand right now with the state. And right now, it is 33 leads that we've got, 34, 33, it's changing. BJP is 18, down 4. And the Congress and its allies are at 12. They are actually down 2. And the AJP, I beg your pardon, the BJP is down 4 from 2019. This is why it gets a little confusing. The AJP, which is the new party, the Assam Jatiya Parishad of Lurun Jyoti Gogoi, that actually, Dorab, is leading in 3 seats. So they seem to be already having an impact in Assam. Okay, let's now go across to my colleague Ratnadeep, who is there in Assam. Ratnadeep, looking at this right now, the BJP is still comfortably placed, but it's interesting that the AJP has actually already had an impact, and it might actually be even taking away some seats from the Congress.
That's right, Vasu. In fact, this was something that watchers felt that it's not clear whose vote the AJP is going to cut. And when we say AJP, remember it is in alliance with Akhil Gogoi's Raijot Dal. Now, AJP and Raijot Dal, they are in alliance. So, the numbers that we have, we don't know whether those are AJP numbers or Raijot Dal numbers. But whatever it is, it was not clear whose vote the AJP is going to cut. Remember, these parties were born out of the anti-CAA protests in Assam. Now, these are early trends, these are postal ballots. We have to watch out for, remember this time, since the elections took place under the COVID norms, therefore, the number of postal ballots has increased as much as 414% in Assam. So even the postal ballot counting will take a lot of time. Behind me, there is a counting center where counting process is on, but the early trend actually suggests that BJP has an edge, although it is losing numbers. That's what we also got a sense when we were covering the 3-phase elections. Also, the early trend, if you look at the postal ballot, it suggests that Congress is not going to do bad. It is going to give a fight. So one has to watch out what kind of fight the Congress Mahajot gives. But perhaps the early trend definitely suggests that the AJP and its ally Raijot Dal, which both the Congress and the BJP had claimed them to be vote katua, we have to see whose vote they are cutting and how much.
We'll try and drill a little bit into those leads to see whose votes they're taking away. But let's also now just look at Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Again, fascinating stories are unfolding there. We've got N. Ram with us. We've got Mr. Sumant Raman as well with us. Look at Tamil Nadu, where out of 41 leads, the DMK is at 23, up 5. The ADMK is not doing that badly. They are down 6, but they're at 17. The AMMK has just managed to make its first opening, debut. They're leading in 1 seat. Again, this could change because it's all postal ballots and it could change very fast. But TTV Dinakaran there making his debut, leading in 1 seat. And in Kerala, where you've got leads in 90 seats, there it is actually quite close because the LDF is at 45, but they are down 17. And the Congress at 39 is gaining 13, Dorab.
Yeah, that is not a single poll suggested that, and that is quite surprising. One is hoping that, the effect of the postal votes is diminishing over the period of time.
Right. Okay, let's just get quick comments from Mr. Ram.
BJP is up 2 with 3 seats. So
right.
BJP is also doing, it will be a record for the BJP.
Okay. Let's get quick comments from. Yes, interesting also that the BJP is actually leading in 3 in Kerala. Again, that's something that, a lot of people didn't anticipate or see that. Let's get quick comments from Mr. Ram on both Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Mr. Ram, what do you make of it?
Yeah, very, very early, and if these are largely postal ballots, I wouldn't attach too much importance to either. I don't think the BJP in Kerala is going to take 3. That's more or less ruled out.
But would you still find it interesting that in Kerala, it is actually not such a huge gap as many had expected? Because, was there a bit of a sense, I got that sense that towards the end of the campaign, the Congress had managed to gain some momentum, that these, particularly the gold smuggling case and all that, they started to get some traction for the opposition, which had kept the Congress in the game. And again, early days, but it's not entirely clear whether that's also having some impact on the fact that the gap isn't that great.
I think it was a close fought election in Kerala. There's no doubt about it. Some of the polls put a very high figure. The India Today poll, for example, the 105 or 104 to 120, which I think looks exaggerated. Yeah, we'll wait and see. But it's broadly going according to what the polls. Most of the polls actually didn't predict such a big margin.
Right. Dorab, you wanted to come in? Sorry. Did I hear you?
You really need to wait. For instance, in the Palakkad constituency, East Sridharan is standing.
Yes.
Last time Congress was first, BJP was second. This time the BSP is leading. The BSP is leading in Palakkad, So the results are very, very early. Please let's be careful about them.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
No,
okay.
but Vasu,
Vasu,
just a point.
Sagrika, just a second. Let me just go across to Sumant Raman because let's look at Tamil Nadu, Mr. Sumant Raman. Again, look at that.
Yeah.
Again, contrary to the suggestion that it's a DMK landslide, right now with 48 leads, with the caveat that these are postal ballots, it's 25-21. So it's pretty close right now.
Yeah, Srinivasan, I think some of us had stuck our necks out and predicted a close contest with an edge to the DMK. Of course, this is very, very early. I mean, many of these leads are 10 votes and 12 votes in the first round of postal ballot counting. So I really wouldn't, go too much with these numbers. But it does look like the AIADMK may be actually holding its own. In fact, my prediction was actually for a switch or the reverse of the 2016 result.
Yes.
Where the AIADMK got 130 odd and 137 and the DMK got about 95, 90, 98.
Yeah.
So DMK alliance, I mean. So we could be seeing a very close fight in Tamil Nadu. And I have insisted right from day one that we are unlikely to have the kind of landslide that, 180, 190, which was predicted.
Yes.
By some of the opinion polls.
Yeah.
But again, as I said, it's way too early for us. And half
No,
of these
absolutely.
leads are...
You're right, because even as we speak, it's now DMK ahead in 31, the ADMK in just 23. So the gap has already widened now to 8. So it's changing quite fast, but
see,
you're right to suggest...
Which regions, we've got to see which regions these are coming from.
We'll just go region by region in just a second. But you're right to suggest that, and I mentioned this earlier as well, that there wasn't that sense of widespread anger against EPS that was reflected in the kind of exit poll numbers. But yes, sorry, Dorab, come in. Yes.
The vast postal votes out of 112 constituencies in Bengal that have come in. I am running a bit late because I am not in the office. Every single one is a postal ballot. In Tamil Nadu, out of 55, 46 are only postal ballots.
Right.
In Kerala, out of 95, 94 are only postal ballots.
Right.
Assam, out of 41, 39 are only postal ballots. Not even one single ballot. In Assam, two are actual counts. In Kerala, one is an actual count. Tamil Nadu, 9 are actual counts. Bengal, 0 are actual counts. Out of 112, every single one is a postal vote. I think we should cool it a little for a little bit of time until we get more votes.
Cool it.
These are military votes. These are civil servant votes. These are not votes cast by normal people like I.
Just one
when
correction.
You say you want us to cool it, what do you mean by that? Should we
I'm saying,
all go
I
off
don't
and
know
have
what the
breakfast
actual
and come
results are.
back?
Otherwise, I would have called all the states. I would have called the states already.
No, just one correction. This time, senior citizens have also been allowed to cast postal ballots.
Right.
So many of these the postal ballot count in the 5 states, compared to last time, which was 2.9 lakhs, is close to 12.5 lakh postal ballots in all the 5 states together.
Okay.
So it may be a little more indicative than usual.
How many?
Just one
at a time. Guys, just a second. Sorry, just one at a time. Otherwise, no one will be able to hear. Yes, Dorab, that's an important caveat. And we've seen this in election after election. We are likely to see high percentage of postal ballots for at least another half an hour to an hour. So that is accepted. But let's just go across to my colleague Sam Daniel, who is joining us from Accounting Center. Sam, again, with all the caveats that these are early leads, the fact is that the gap between the two is not that great. It's just a gap of at the moment it's 31 to 27. So that is something which I'm sure, particularly in the Chief Minister's camp, they'll be looking at very, very closely as to where these leads are coming from right now.
That's true, Vasu, because there was no strong anti-incumbency wave as such against the ruling AIADMK. But the one thing many saw working against the AIADMK alliance was its alliance with the BJP, and also the fact that although Sasikala had decided to stay away from politics, her nephew Dinakaran with his party contesting alone, splitting votes from the AIADMK. That's the second negative for the AIADMK. But otherwise, we could witness a kind of a close fight, whether it will be advantage largely to the DMK or the ruling AIADMK. That's a big question as the ruling party tries for a third consecutive term. Although there was no strong anti-incumbency, many also thought a kind of a fatigue was there setting in, and let's give a chance to the other option. That was one kind of feeling we could see on the ground. Of course, the DMK capitalized on the AIADMK's alliance with the BJP, saying that it's being remote controlled by the central government, and also it was hoping to repeat the kind of results it saw in 2019 where it swept the polls. It was hoping for a similar result this time as well. But as you said, too early now. We'll have to wait for the counting of the ordinary woman's vote to be counted, which could be around 9:30. That's what we hear. As we speak now, we come to you from the Queen Mary's College Counting Centre, where counting is on for 5 constituencies, including RK Nagar, Chepak, Triple K. And a short while ago, we had Udayanidhi Stalin driving in. His votes are being counted here. We'll have to wait and watch, but certainly a fascinating election. A clear trend could perhaps emerge in less than half an hour from now, once the regular counting begins.
All right, let's thanks very much, Sam. Let's just go back now and go back to the big battleground state, West Bengal, where we have leads from 127, and at the moment it is absolutely dead heat, 63-63 between the BJP and the TMC. But let's look, Dorab, at the regions, and let's look at exactly how this is broken up by regions, because that will give you some idea of where these numbers are coming from, and that may give us some hint of which way it is actually going to break. So let's start off by each of these regions, and the first region up on your screen, Dorab, is Upper Bengal, where the BJP traditionally always does well, and they are leading in 6 out of 10 seats, and the Trinamool is at 4. So that's actually at the moment a fairly even split. This is Darjeeling, Jalpaiguri, yes, the hill districts. Yes, Dorab.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Okay.
Still again.
Okay, let's keep moving. I was just asking you, we're going region wise. Let's just move on now and look at North Central region. This is Malda, Murshidabad. This is the Muslim dominated belt. Here the Trinamool is leading. This is the one region out of 36 seats where we have leads for. The Trinamool is at 23 and the BJP is at 12. In the central belt, it is actually the BJP, Dorab, which is ahead. 12 to 11. Right. Yes.
See, last time also, in 2019 also, the BJP was ahead in the central belt. The BJP's areas of the Upper Bengal were Upper Bengal and Central.
Yes. That's right. So this is all the way from Asansol in the west to Nadia in the east. This is a belt of Hindi speakers. You also have the what is called the Matua, or the SC community, which the BJP has cultivated as a vote bank. So this is where they are leading. Let's now move further south and look at those crucial belts. Suburban Kolkata. This is a very important region. 22 out of 54. Here is where the BJP is making inroads. 12 to the TMC,
absolutely.
But 9 to the BJP.
This is the stronghold of the TMC.
Of the Trinamool Congress. And this is where Sagarika, this and what is called, the surrounding areas, Calcutta and Greater Calcutta, Suburban Calcutta, Hooghly, Howrah, the North 24, South 24 Parganas, where the BJP is starting to make inroads. Look at that now. Kolkata, 23 leads, BJP 12, TMC 11. The TMC is actually trailing here. This is the Kolkata and surrounding regions. And this is something that is likely to be a big worry for the Trinamool. In the southwest, which is the Jungle Mahal region, there the BJP is comfortably ahead, 16 out of 24 leads. The Trinamool is only at 8. This is expected that they would do well in this region. But it's the Kolkata and surrounding areas where the anger, particularly Sagarika, there are multiple factors there. One of them is the Amphan factor, the cyclone, which hit those regions, and where there were widespread allegations of Trinamool workers taking bribes, what is called cut money, all of that perhaps coming into play.
You know, Vasu, that's exactly right, because I traveled in that area, and one of the phrases that they were using was Amphan Durniti. You know, meaning Durniti as in bad governance.
Yes.
And Amphan Durniti, meaning cyclonic bad governance. Particularly in that cyclone hit area, ironically, that cyclone hit area is Mamata Banerjee's stronghold. It is her area which was hit.
Yeah.
And you know, I would have expected that she would have used the cyclone as a time when she really would deliver massive welfare, massive amounts of government services to the victims. But unfortunately, the Trinamool was not able to do so. And as we've seen in the trend across states, chief ministers who perform well in a calamity are always rewarded, as Naveen Patnaik, as Pinarayi Vijayan. They're rewarded if they perform well in a calamity. Her government did not perform well in this calamity that was Amphan.
Right, and that is
and
something
I think
which is
paying the price.
Yeah,
because,
we'll have to
you know,
see
this is,
if that's a political cyclone.
Of course, we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see, because we also have with us Ruchita Kazaria, political analyst pro-left. We have Debjani Bhattacharya, political analyst and columnist pro-BJP. Thank you for waiting patiently. Sorry we couldn't come to you earlier. Debjani Bhattacharya, what would you make of the leads at the moment? Again, it's very, very early. It's almost all, as Dora pointed out, postal ballots. BJP and Trinamool neck to neck. This would still make you happy, even though it's neck to neck. At least the fact that you've managed to, you know, increase your numbers to this extent.
Yeah, I think in general the fight would be neck to neck up to a long extent, because now postal ballots are being counted, and this time many senior citizens also have casted their votes through postal ballots. Moreover, reports came that because in earlier elections, since the Trinamool trailed a lot, I mean, Trinamool were long behind BJP in postal ballots. So this time before election, such allegations also came that it was manipulated. Like some people from the police service tried to manipulate postal ballots in favor of TMC. And now...
well, that's a serious allegation.
That's a serious allegation, but it came. This allegation came, and especially it came in the police service.
Right.
That some people were trying to manipulate the postal ballots, and that is because in the earlier elections, you know, you will be knowing that the government employees of the state of West Bengal have been deprived a lot.
Right. Okay. Let's just go across. Okay. Let's just go across to Ruchita Kazaria, political analyst, pro-left. Ruchita Kazaria, as far as the left is concerned, I mean the left and the Congress really, who are fighting this election, it's just the collapse continues. I mean, there's just a lead of 2, and so this whole shift that so many commentators have pointed out, what is called from Bam to Ram, that is from the Vampanthi, the left dal, the left parties towards the BJP, that continues.
Yeah, it continues. So the point is that we are looking at a significant rise in numbers, a decisive rise in numbers, because like we just said, continuously your panelists have been saying that this is just the early trends. We should not take these very seriously. These are just postal ballots. So let it continue, Basu. Let me see that how does it shape up for the Sanjukta Morcha Another thing that we need to mention here is that look at how interestingly the 26-year-olds, 40-year-olds, you see a new generation of the communists coming in, where the older generation, was stuck for a very, very long time. And I believe that in the coming days, whether it's a BJP win or it's a TMC sweep again, it is actually the communists which will form the opposition in the true sense for the party which will rule. Because you see that you have very young female.
Right. I just wonder how you would say that at this stage, because, I mean, the left is just at 2 at the moment. It's really, TMC and BJP.
No, I am not saying anything at this stage.
Okay.
I'm not saying anything at this stage. What I'm trying to say is that the youngsters, these young people who are coming in from JNU, these people are the intellectuals, Okay. They have had the merit of standing against the TMC Supremo.
Right.
Okay. And it matters there.
Okay. All right. We'll just break away from this for just a second and over to Sonia for all the other news.
Thanks, Srinivasan. And of course, as we've been saying, that even amidst our coverage of the election results, we're not taking our focus away from what really matters in India today. And that is the huge health and humanitarian crisis we are currently going through as India crosses 4 lakh cases and is nearly at 4,000 deaths, the actual number much, much more. We stand in grief and solidarity today with everyone in India. The worst humanitarian tragedy that has hit us probably since partition. But right now, normally the Prime Minister would be constantly monitoring election results at this time, in touch with various states as well and with Home Minister Amit Shah. But at the moment at 9:30, just a short while from now, he'll be holding a meeting looking at the current COVID situation and more specifically the human resources situation, the problem of man and woman power with doctors and nurses falling sick and of course augmenting the huge demand needed right now, because you can't create more beds if you don't have personnel to man them. Sunil Prabhu has more on that meeting. Sunil, what are the details you have?
Well, at 9:30 this morning, this is a series of meetings that the Prime Minister is taking, and as you rightly pointed out, amongst the issues that he will be discussing is the human rights, the human resources issue, which is really a big cause of concern, because the worst is yet feared according to various health experts, and it's in that context that they need to ensure that there is enough of staff, not only doctors but nurses, to see that one way or the other the situation is able to be handled, that various care centers are there. Already a lot of work has been done to ensure that at tier 2 and tier 3 cities, these various steps are taken to build it up, because it's not just in big cities but across the country where it is feared, and those do not have the capabilities. And I think the focus, as you've seen, not only the armed forces but now to step up and ensure that everybody also gets the required support. The other aspect, of course, which is very, very important, is that the oxygen supply and a whole gamut of issues will be discussed with the Prime Minister at this meeting today to see that those loss of lives which we've seen this morning in various newspapers, which we've been reporting from yesterday, does not take place again. And I think it's in that context that the Prime Minister is taking stock along with the top officials on this important issue.
In fact, just on that, I'd like to go across to Sukirti, who is at Batra Hospital. Now, that's a site of the tragedy which happened yesterday with 12 people dying, including a senior doctor. Sukirti, you mentioned that hospitals, even after that, have kept on sending SOS messages through the night for oxygen supply. What's the current situation in Batra Hospital? Do they have enough oxygen? What has changed? And as Sunil said, the Prime Minister discussed the human resources situation, what it's like for doctors and nurses who are working there, knowing they couldn't save their own because of lack of oxygen.
For healthcare workers who are working in these hospitals, this is a very heartbreaking situation at this point of time and very demoralizing also. That is why the medical director of this Patra hospital as well, yesterday he said there are 19 of our doctors who are down with COVID right now. Yet they are putting in their day in and day out in order to serve these patients, and that is exactly what Dr. R.K. Hintani, who is the gastroenterology head, he was also trying to do. He had been putting in his efforts, and it is in that process that he fell ill because of COVID and was being treated in this very hospital. But unfortunately yesterday, when the oxygen supply ran out, that's when he also lost his life along with those 11 other people. And that is why for healthcare workers working in these hospitals, a very, very tough situation at this point of time. They have been pleading to the government that either give us the quantities that we want or tell us to just shut off our hospitals and not take any more admissions. These are people who could have been treated. That is the regret that these healthcare workers have at this point, that these are lives that could have been saved. These are people who would have been cured, they would have recovered, but they lost their lives only due to lack of resources. And that is something that is not being addressed, and constantly this has been happening in the last 12 hours. It is GTB Hospital, Rajiv Gandhi Super Speciality Hospital, and many other World Brain Hospitals, smaller hospitals have also sent out SOS calls, and that is the process that still continues.
And of course, Sukriti, the tragedy also yesterday of a young resident doctor in Max Hospital committing suicide, not being able to bear the pressure, and the whole there have been recommendations from top doctors, including Dr. Devi Shetty, that there should be changes in some of the rules and protocols so that, you know, young nursing graduates, MBBS students can also be drawn in the time of this national crisis. Is that something that is urgently needed when you're reporting about doctors, nurses around you are falling sick and coming back? Do we urgently need that? And Sukriti and Sunil, then I'm going to ask you if that's going to be on the Prime Minister's list agenda also as he meets on human resources. Sukriti, first to you.
Well, yes, absolutely. For the nurses and resident doctors, it is especially very hard at this point of time. As far as the resident doctors are concerned, many of them across India, they have had their medical examinations scheduled, and repeatedly every few days we see calls going out for help from these resident doctors saying that can our examinations be postponed, because when will we have the time to study if we are working for 24 to 36 hour long shifts in COVID wards? When exactly do you think we will end up having the time to study? As far as nurses are concerned, even in the nursing associations in Delhi, they recently pleaded to the government that can special facilities be provided to them as well for quarantine, because they are serving in these COVID wards and then going back to their homes where there are other family members, they have senior citizen parents, there are small children in their own homes. They do not want to take the infection back home and have been requesting the authorities for special quarantine facilities. So there are these calls for help going out from nurses, resident doctors, all of these people.
No, absolutely, and we need to support them in every way possible at this time, and whether it's the government relaxing certain rules and bringing in more manpower, that really is crucial at this time. Let's see what happens after the Prime Minister's meeting. But Srinivasan, back to you now. That's the breaking news we're bringing you just right now in the Prime Minister's meeting at 9:30. But back to you for the latest on what's happening in counting.
Absolutely. No, important to also keep an update on what's happening with India's COVID response, and that Prime Minister meeting. We'll get you details of that as well shortly as we have them. Let's just now quickly go back to our leads, which have started to come in thick and fast, again with the caveat that these are postal ballots. So let's start off with West Bengal, where again, it's just, look at that. It's 175 leads. BJP and Trinamool are just absolutely neck and neck. The left and the Congress, frankly, not a presence at all. But the important thing there, as Dorab keeps pointing out, is that the Trinamool is dropping from its 2019 performance, the Lok Sabha performance, where it's at the moment down 10. And that's something that it'll worry it if that doesn't change. Okay, let's just run you through all the states now and look at the leads as they're coming in. And let's move on now from West Bengal and let's look at Tamil Nadu. Now, Tamil Nadu, look at that. Here it now appears that at 9:15 the DMK has started to pull away. Of 108 leads that we have so far, the DMK and its allies are up 65. The ADMK and its allies are at 42. So the DMK at the moment is starting to look a little more comfortable. And let's move on now to the next state, and we'll tell you the story of what is happening in Kerala. Here again, it's the left front which is starting to pull away. This is more in line with what the exit polls are saying, a 70-50. That's the gap between the LDF and the UDF. The BJP continues to show leads in 2 seats. Earlier it was 3, it's down to 2, but that's going to keep changing. And let's now look at quickly at Assam, and let's look at the story there. There you now have 59 leads, and the BJP is at 36, the Congress 60 actually now, 36-20. So the BJP starting to pull away in Assam. The talk of the Congress Mahajot being able to put up a fight, unclear. In Puducherry, again, in keeping with what many believed, it is the Congress which is in all likelihood set to lose its government there to the NRC BJP alliance. So let's just zoom in, Dorab. We looked at West Bengal. Let's just zoom in, Dorab, to Tamil Nadu, and let's look regionally, region by region, of what's happening there. Because at the moment, Dorab, it looks like Stalin is starting to pull away from the ADMK. Again, though, these are still largely postal ballots, one assumes.
Vasu, they almost all. Bengal has about 180 leads. There's not one single ballot lead. One single lead.
Okay.
You know, when I was in Calcutta several decades ago, I used to come to work at 9:30. And everybody, I said, come early tomorrow, on time. I mean, Cheshta Korbo. I think the Cheshta is still going on and nothing is happening. They're relaxing. I mean, 177 constituents of postal votes and 0 constituency is the only state in the country of the 4 that has got 0 leads. I think we should wait before discussing the regions, etc., because I think it makes no sense.
Right.
Now, some of the other states do have a fair number. You know, Tamil Nadu has 17, so at least some leads are coming. Here, there are no leads coming in.
Okay. Yes, I think.
You know, perhaps it's because of the counting changes. Vasu, is probably because of the counting changes. The way the changes have occurred in terms of having more counting centers, etc., etc. But I think Bengal, if we show the leads, let's show against 2019, because that's what makes more sense.
Yes, we're doing that. Actually, Bengal and Assam we're showing versus 2019, and for the rest of the states, we're doing it versus 2016. Yeah.
I just put 2019.
Yes.
60 on my screen, Bengal.
That's what we're doing. Okay, let's just, as we go through Tamil Nadu, if we can just go through each of the regions. We have Apsara Reddy of the AIADMK is with us. Good morning, Apsara. Thanks for being with us. Now, good morning. Even though it's still very, very early, as Dorab said, it's all, in fact, postal ballots, would this still be a bit of a concern for you that its DMK is now close to 70 of 118 leads, ADMK and allies only at about 47?
Morning, Vasu. I think these are very, very early trends, and postal ballots have always traditionally gone to the DMK. If you look at elections for time immemorial, we're very, very confident that with the kind of deliverance of governance that we've done in Tamil Nadu, be it the cyclone, be it the corona, bringing the defense corridor, the farmer, declaring a certain region as a farmer belt, I think we will definitely retain power in Tamil Nadu.
Okay, you seem confident of that, but if you just look at that region by region, you see that the DMK in the north is actually leading in 35 out of a total of 46 seats. ADMK is only 11. That's actually where you had your alliance with the PMK. That's, strong one-year areas. In the south, out of 19, the DMK is up 10. You're at 8. Again, this would traditionally be seen as a strong area for you. Strong presence of Tevers here. Late Chief Minister's constituency used to fall there. West, Kongu belt. This is a strong ADMK bastion. Here is the only region out of 32, it's 19 to you and 11 to the DMK. So that's broadly the regional play. The Kaveri Delta region is left. We'll try and bring that up in a second. But Apsara, just to ask you though that, there's always been this question about the wisdom of going in for the alliance with the BJP, and that's something that the DMK harked on repeatedly, went on attacking the ADMK, saying you're really a puppet of the the BJP, the chief minister is being manipulated by New Delhi. If these leads turn out to, solidify, would there be a regret or any second thoughts that that was perhaps a mistake to have gone with the BJP?
Not at all, Vasu. I think it was a very sensible decision to align with the central government, because of which Tamil Nadu has benefited quite a bit. 11 medical colleges last year. Our GDP has grown by plus 2% during the corona year. Lots of stuff that has come to the state in terms of welfare measures and economic packages because of the central alliance that we have with the centre. That doesn't mean we're a photocopy of the centre, we copy the ideology, or we're ideological twins, which is what the DMK has been falsely propagating. I feel where the chief minister has to act tough, he's acted tough even with the BJP leaders, not following the COVID norms, or celebrating certain people's birthdays, or conducting a yatra during COVID. I think the chief minister has acted very tough even on the alliance partners. But I feel the centre state sync is very, very important, especially when we have floods, when we have corona. We need to work in tandem with the centre. And I think that an alliance, as the chief minister has repeated himself many times over his campaign, it's an alliance for election, and it's nothing to do with ideology.
Yeah, that actually was quite a surprising statement, to say that it's only for elections. There's something completely sort of transactional about it. But anyway, you're right, that's how he did put it. Let's just go across for the moment to my colleague Himanshu Shekhar, who's at BJP headquarters in Delhi. And Himanshu, I'm sure again with all these election commission restrictions, I can't expect there'll be too much chahel-pahel there. But what's the sense you're getting from the BJP of how it's going for them so far?
Well, Vasu, first I wish to show you the visuals now. It's a very unusual day for reporters on a counting day in BJP. And no BJP leader, worker or even reporters have been allowed inside the campus. And behind me you can see that this road is largely empty. There are just 4 media units there. And just behind me, the BJP headquarters, the gate through which we used to go inside, has been completely sealed. There is this entire building, we have not seen a single individual here since morning, and that is the protocol. The security guards have told us that there are strict instructions not to allow any media person, any camera person, any BJP worker, and no BJP leader is also expected to come here. This is largely the mood now at the BJP headquarters. But BJP is confident about winning in West Bengal and Assam. BJP leaders are saying that we are confident with the kind of inputs we have got, the kind of effort, the hard work our leaders have made. BJP is hoping to win a majority. Remember, in 2016 assembly elections, BJP had owned just 3 seats. And now the trends, though these are very initial trends, clearly shows that BJP is giving a very close neck-to-neck contest to the Trinamool Congress. And BJP is very confident about West Bengal, the Assam. It seems to be in clear lead now. So these are 2 states where BJP leaders are hoping that they're going to win this time. That is the claim BJP leaders are making at this time. Vasu.
Himanshu, thanks very much indeed. You're right. That's a very unusual backdrop that you're in compared to the normal festive atmosphere, mahal that we see most times during counting days, but very much, of course, in keeping with the times of the pandemic. And it's quite possible that even when the results come, and even if it goes in favor of A or B party, we're not likely to see too much of a celebration. Let's just go across now to my colleague Arvind Gunasekar, who is outside Stalin's residence. And again, Arvind, at the moment, with all these early leads, the DMK does look comfortably placed. But again, because of the pandemic and all of that, is there a largely sort of subdued atmosphere where you are?
Yeah, Vasu, we are outside Stalin's residence here at Alvapet in Chennai. It's relatively quiet here. Like you mentioned, maybe it's still early in the day. Only the postal ballots, the leads from postal ballots are in. That's where we are seeing a relatively quiet atmosphere here. In fact, none of the senior leaders are also here. Only Stalin, along with few other of his own staff and his family members, are very much inside. But none of the senior leaders have arrived here as of this moment. Like you mentioned, the postal ballot, the leads from postal ballots are already in. Almost DMK's lead leading in somewhere around 68 to 70 seats, and even ADMK is also somewhere leading in 51 or 52 odd seats. What is surprising is that 2 seats in 2 places in 2 constituencies, TTV Dinagaran's faction is also leading, and also Makkal Needhi Mayam's chief Kamal Hassan is also leading in his Coimbatore South constituency. So these are the interesting takeaway, because all this, like you mentioned, these are early leads because only the postal ballots have started coming in. Like you mentioned, there are other restrictions in the Chennai, in the state also, including the national capital Chennai, including the state capital Chennai also. Complete lockdown has been imposed. No public movement. There is a restriction even on public movement also. Only the essential service workers are allowed to move across the state. So there is a strict lockdown that has been enforced in Tamil Nadu, and also both the parties, both DMK and ADMK, has also urged their party workers not to come out, not to make any big victory rallies, etc. So still it's still early in the day. We have to wait and watch whether those restrictions, whether those conditions will be adhered to by the party workers. Right. But as of this moment, it seems to be a quiet situation here.
So is Stalin inside the house, and he's basically tracking the results from there, or is he at party headquarters?
No, so Stalin along with his family members are inside, so the entire family is keenly watching the results from their own residence here. And also we saw a few minutes back, we saw the DMK MP Dayanidhi Maran also coming here. Apart from that, there are no other leaders here.
Oh, I see. Okay, Dayanidhi Maran has also arrived. Thanks very much indeed, Arvind, for that. Okay, let's just go across to political analyst PKD Nambiar. Supports the BJP. Is joining us on the program. Also, Tikender Singh Pawar, leader of the CPM, is with us, and of course, Dorab continues to be with us. And Dorab, please jump in the moment you feel we need to flag anything with the numbers, because these are still largely postal ballots, so we have to be very careful with the numbers. But overall, Mr. Nambiar, given particularly West Bengal and Assam, West Bengal, it's still very, very close. Assam, you are comfortably ahead at the moment. This would make you happy, yes?
See, on the other day we were discussing, Srinivas, that Assam and Bengal, there is no doubt that this both will be going to BJP. In Bengal, it may be a little bit more closer fight, but then this election was really fought in every possible best democratic way by BJP. I mean, the Bengal election has been taken into a different direction altogether. To a mighty Mamata Banerjee, she was simply frightened into a different level. And in the case of Mamata Banerjee, what she did this time around, she has completely bagged onto one individual or one particular company. She has outsourced the entire election campaign to Prashant Kishore and company. Yeah. Whereas on the other hand, what BJP did, that from booth level workers, yes, to every individual, every party member was actively involved in the entire election process. And you can see that
part is very creditable about how the BJP puts up a ground game and builds from the grassroots. But when you say you fought at the democratic level, this election, would you really say that? I mean, if you look at the manner in which the campaign was polarized, the kind of sloganeering, the kind of statements made by your leaders, Suvendu Adhikari saying that Begum will win in Nandigram and turn it into a mini Pakistan, comments for which the Election Commission had to censure him. I mean, it really, it was a very, very worrying kind of rhetoric that we saw.
So that is equally available. I mean, in every party, both in the TMC, also a number of leaders were
but I'm saying that by the two wrongs don't make a right. Two wrongs don't make a right.
That is true. I agree with you. I agree with you that two wrongs can never be made as the right one. But the one thing you need to understand, that minority appeasement has always been the major political stunt of Mamata Banerjee. And Mamata Banerjee has always proved that she was always talking about the 30% of the vote. 30% of the vote.
The answer to if assuming your argument is true, the allegation of minority appeasement, the answer can't be majority appeasement, right? The answer has to be no appeasement.
Absolutely, I am with you on that.
But the BJP does majority appeasement.
See, there is in this particular country. Srinivasan, the majority is the one which has always been divided and misused for every possible way by whether it is a Congress to a CPIM to every party so far. If a majority community one particular day is taking a stand that yes, they also need to be under a particular umbrella, what is wrong with it? I don't think because we have never seen.
What is wrong with it is that's how you divide countries. That's how you divide societies. Anyway, let's not come into that. We'll come back to that. Mr. Nambiar will come back to that. Let's keep our focus on the numbers. Monadeepa is with us. Monadeepa, I'm not sure if you had a chance to speak to people in either camp, but if you have, do share that with us, or just overall your sense of where it is poised, because the BJP is inching closer and closer to the 100 mark. There was all this talk, I remember Prashant Kishore tweeting saying BJP is not going to cross 100. Many Trinamool leaders actually said that. Again, with the caveat that these are almost largely postal ballots, it is moving in that direction.
As you mentioned, the caveat is that it is only postal ballot so far, so it's a bit hard to really take a call on the basis of those. But certainly, even in the postal ballot situation, for the BJP to give the Trinamool Congress such a neck-and-neck race. I mean, remember 2016 and even 2019, it was 121 to 164 seats that the Trinamool was leading in, segments that Trinamool was leading in. So even given all that BJP is inching close to 100, that it is giving Trinamool a neck-and-neck fight, certainly something that the Trinamool may need to worry about. We'll have to see what happens when the real votes, as it were, the usual votes get counted. But I have been talking to the BJP leaders, the Trinamool leaders, ever since the elections began, Vasu, and no question about it, that both sides are on the edge. They are not sure, especially after the exit polls, if things can go either way. Trinamool, BJP officially will tell you 100 seats, but as I said earlier, scratch the surface and there is a certain nervousness about the whole situation. The left in Congress also watching, because should it be a close situation, they will have to take a call and decide what they want to do.
Right, okay. And we're just putting up the strike rate that both parties need at the moment. Again, this is very, very premature, but it gives you an idea of how, in fact, close it is. Trinamool needs a strike rate of about 51%. BJP needs a strike rate of 47%. So the gap isn't much. Dorab, just one thing, though, which has been sort of interesting, is that for the Trinamool, the change from 2019, how many seats it's dropped from 2019, has not gone beyond 9. It's sort of toggling between down 9 to down 7. So that seems to have remained somewhat constant.
I think it's up 11 now on my bit.
Sorry, say again?
Yeah, it's still close. And you counted data coming from 207 or around 210 seats. And if they're up only a small number, then it will take a little bit more. Because they are at 121. They got to go to 148.
Yeah.
So, they will pick up 20 odd seats. 25 seats to get a majority. Of course, that's a majority directly. I mean, not with friends and relatives who come in later.
Right. So, what's interesting is that the BJP is...
It is very...
Right. The BJP is ahead in 11.
But Vasu.
Yes.
But Vasu is only 10 or 15 real results. The rest of the 190 odd.
I know, Dorab. I know. Dorab, I completely agree.
One day we ought to see analysis on who the people would generally favor. We don't have that data.
No, I know, Dorab. I'm just simply saying that they're ahead 10 or 11.
Yes.
Some of that seems to be coming from the TMC. Some of that actually seems to be coming
from the left.
From the left, yeah.
Yes.
That's all I was saying.
The left
okay.
didn't have much. Yeah. Vasu, the left didn't have much to give anyway. They only had 7.
Yes.
Of those who are counting. They've given half of those up.
And those are also evaporating. Yes, Monadeepa, come in. Yes, Monadeepa.
Just one very small point, but I'm just seeing the figures that we have on air. You know, with 292 seats have gone to the polls this time round. 2 candidates have died, so there were no polls there. So the halfway mark is actually 146 and no longer 148. And that's what, believe me, such is the fight. Even the BJP and the Trinamool Congress, they are sort of debating about that. That is 146 and we are almost there. So every seat is going to count for the two parties. So 146, not 148, is the halfway mark right now.
No, that's a very important point, Madhudeepa, that actually the strength of the assembly has come down tragically because of the death of these candidates, because of the pandemic, and that is something which that's of course terrible news. But you're right, that is something that makes the fight even closer and even keener. Mr. Tikender Singh Pawar, leader of the CPM, again the fact that we are seeing whatever few gains the left had in the Lok Sabha elections, even that is being squandered away or gobbled up most likely by the BJP. Why is the left not able to put up even a semblance of a fight in West Bengal anymore? What would you analyze as a reason for this complete collapse?
I think it will be a little premature as of now to say it's a complete collapse. But yeah, I mean, during the campaign, we could witness there was this sharp polarization that we were witnessing between the two political forces, one led by the Trinamool Congress and the other one by the BJP. And probably, I mean, because I didn't get the opportunity to visit West Bengal elections, so probably it's just with the feedback that we got from our cadres, from our comrades in West Bengal. Probably it is one of those reasons that actually the left. And as you rightly pointed out, it's just the postal ballot, and I think in your show only pointed out that it's the state government employees actually happens to be voting the incumbent government there. So let's wait for some time. But yeah, I mean, not to discount the fact that we've not done the way we were expecting. Sure. But one of the reasons that I could push forward is, despite the fact that we've had very good campaign, very good mobilization, very good candidates, young people, and bring that narrative of the alternative. But still, I think one of the major polling force happened to be this this polarization. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll just break away from our election coverage for just a moment, but let's just quickly run through the numbers before we do that. West Bengal, out of 225 leads, absolute close fight. TMC currently at 115, BJP at 107. BJP's crossed 100, by the way, but that could keep changing. Tamil Nadu, out of 151 leads, the DMK at 80, so looking fairly good there, a gain of 17. ADMK at 68, down 20. Kerala, out of 140, actually now it's 140 out of 140 leads, all postal ballots of course, out of all. LDF is at 80 and Congress as its allies, UDF is just at 55. So at the moment LDF looking fairly comfortable. In Assam, out of 80 leads, BJP and its allies at 51, Congress Mahajot at just 25. And in Puducherry, out of 15 leads, it's the NRC alliance which is way ahead at 10, Congress and its allies just at 5. Of course, all of this could change, but for the moment, Sonia, over to you.
Thanks so much, Srinivasan. I mean, of course, those numbers crucial for political power in those states, being watched by all our top leaders currently and calculated. But it is actually, I mean, when you listen to what Madhudeepa said, that 2 candidates have died, and that's why the political calculations are out on who that would actually give an edge to, makes you realize once again that sometimes how cynical power politics can be. So let's just get also to the numbers which are really crucial at this time. And these are India's latest COVID numbers out for the last 24 hours. Well, there's been a dip in our overall COVID cases. We are under 4 lakhs. Remember, we crossed 4 lakhs, which is a global record just yesterday. However, we still need to tally that with testing, because testing has increasingly become very, very difficult, not just in major cities, but also in states like UP and Bihar. So numbers just below 4 lakhs. Again, deaths, however, have gone up, and these deaths are a quarter of what deaths actually are, just given what NDTV journalists and others have been reporting from various cremation grounds. But our record deaths, so our deaths going up as well. Remember also there's a 2-week lag in death figures. So sadly, the people who are dying now are people who have probably got infected about 10 days ago. So the deaths which will come from the huge rising numbers you see today will actually, the tally will show up about 10 days to 2 weeks later. So we're in for some hard times in the days ahead. Also, our worrying numbers is that yesterday was May 1st when vaccinations went to open up for all Indians above 18. But our vaccination numbers have dipped again. They're at a record low. So again, that's a worrying factor. All of these factors coming together, not good news at this time. But let's just go across to Harsha and Sneha. Now again from 2 states. 9 states have actually recorded record highs in the last 24 hours, and Rajasthan and Kerala amongst them. Sneha, first over to you in Kerala, because there, of course, the balance is with covering election results, though, of course, no celebrations have been allowed, no public rallies, and also these rising COVID numbers. You're also in the health minister's district besides the chief minister.
Well, that's right. We are coming to you from Kannur district. But let me give you glimpses of what we are seeing on the streets, Sonia. On an election day, empty streets, closed shops. This is what Kerala is looking at. This weekend has been strict restrictions over the last 2 days, Saturday as well as Sunday. And starting 4th to 9th, there are going to be strict restrictions all over again in the state as COVID numbers have been seeing a surge. The test positivity rate close to over 24. Let's also quickly give you a sense of what people say before we get on to how this election pans out for Kerala. These two run this shop. It's a bakery shop, one of the few services which has been allowed. And we are right next to the COVID hospital. This is where, there was a whole crunch of beds. And then over the last 1 week, it's just been made into a COVID hospital, the government hospital here at Puducherry. All the wards now taking only COVID patients. എങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരു സാഹചര്യം ഇപ്പം നിങ്ങളുടെ ബിസിനസ് ഒക്കെ എഫക്റ്റഡ് ആയിരിക്കും, പക്ഷേ ഈ റെസ്ട്രിക്ഷൻസും ലോക്ക്ഡൌൺ ഒക്കെ എങ്ങനെയാണ് താങ്കൾ കാണുന്നത്?
ബിസിനസ് പൊതുവെ കുറവാണ്, എന്നാലും റെസ്ട്രിക്ഷൻസ് ഉള്ളത് നല്ലതാണ്. കാരണം അപ്പോൾ മാത്രമേ ആൾക്കാർ പുറത്തിറങ്ങാതിരിക്കും, രോഗം പകരാതിരിക്കുകയും ചെയ്യുള്ളൂ.
Okay, so he's saying business has been affected. That's expected. But he's saying, and many like him in Kerala now saying, these restrictions are important. It's only with these restrictions that people will stop coming out unnecessarily and this disease will not spread. താങ്കളൊക്കെ ഇതവണ വോട്ട് ചെയ്തപ്പം ഈ കോവിഡിന്റെ സാഹചര്യം കണക്കെടുത്തിട്ട് എങ്ങനെയായിരുന്നു പാർട്ടീസ് ഇത് കണ്ടത്? അത് കണ്ടിട്ടാണോ വോട്ട് ചെയ്തത്, അതോ രാഷ്ട്രീയം തന്നെ നോക്കിയിട്ടാണോ?
രാഷ്ട്രീയമായിട്ട് നോക്കിയിട്ട് കൊറോണക്കെതിരെ എങ്ങനെ പ്രതിരോധം നോക്കി എന്നുള്ളതും കൂടി നോക്കിയിട്ടാണ് വോട്ട് നമ്മൾ രേഖപ്പെടുത്തിയിട്ടുള്ളത്.
So he's saying that as a voter, he looked into the politics, the political party and the politics, but apart from that, also the situation of COVID. Elections inde karanano താങ്കൾ നോക്കുന്ന ഇത്ര ഒരു സാഹചര്യം വന്നേക്കുന്ന ഇപ്പം കോവിഡിന്റെ എല്ലാ രാഷ്ട്രീയ പാർട്ടീസ് ഇതെല്ലാം അക്കൗണ്ടബിൾ ആണോ താങ്കൾ കാണുന്നത്, അതോ എങ്ങനെയാ താങ്കൾ ഇത് കാണുന്നത്?
ഇലക്ഷന്റെ കാരണം കൂടുതലായിട്ടും ഉണ്ട്. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ജനങ്ങളുടെ അറിവില്ലായ്മ കാരണം വെറുതെ പുറത്തിറങ്ങുന്നതും പ്രശ്നമാണ്. ഇലക്ഷന്റെ സമയത്ത് കുറച്ചുകൂടി ഫ്രീ ആയിട്ട് ആൾക്കാരെ വിട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്, അതെല്ലാ പാർട്ടിക്കാരും ചെയ്തതും ഒരു തരത്തിൽ തെറ്റാണ്.
Right, so he's saying that during the time of elections, it's because of the elections that these cases have seen a hike. All political parties are responsible for that, but even people have been very careless, is what this gentleman says. But let me just quickly show you, Sonia. He's wearing 2 masks. So is this gentleman wearing 2 masks. And so is this gentleman. Now, this is a message which is being given out. Wear double masks. Take extra precaution if you're going out. That's one of the messages that is being given out. Sonia, interestingly, every evening, Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan has been doing these press conferences to give out the situation, the numbers, and the latest on COVID cases. Right. Whether Pinarayi Vijayan or would it be anybody else who would give out the numbers in days to come is what today will decide.
Right, Sneha, thanks so much. As I said, it's great to see everybody there double masked, and that's excellent. Let's go across to Purva first, actually inside a vaccination center. Purva, latest vaccination numbers have come out, and there's been a disappointing drop yesterday on the first day of opening up of vaccinations. What's it like behind you?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, yesterday, if I tell you, in Mumbai, only 5 government-run vaccination centers were open, and yesterday only 11,000, for Maharashtra only 11,000 people were vaccinated, and Mumbai only 1,000 people were vaccinated. That is because the BMC had said each vaccination center will have 200 people will be vaccinated. Now that has in fact changed a bit today, with BMC saying that these 5 government-run vaccination centers will function today from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. and 500 doses will be given. Even that is very, very less. But at least from yesterday when 200 doses were given, today 500 doses were given, and right now I am at BKC Jumbo Center. This is Maharashtra's biggest vaccination center, and you can see people are in fact, early morning they booked their appointments, they came here, and this is a room where this is a monitoring room, so they have already taken their jabs. So let's try and talk to some of them. Ma'am, what's your name and when did you register for it?
I got my slot yesterday. I'm Kashish and I got my slot yesterday. It was not easy getting a slot. I was just randomly doing it, every hour, every half an hour. I was just trying, putting in my OTP.
What time roughly?
Around 7:38. Okay. Yeah.
In the evening?
Evening, 7:38.
Okay. And you wanted to come in this vaccination center only?
Yeah, luckily I just got it for this. It was showing Cooper and Seven Hills also, but they were showing full. And this was showing vacant. So.
And what is it like now? You've already taken your jab. What are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling so good. I can't tell you. I've been waiting for this because I've not met my parents for past 2 years. I can't travel without a jab. There's quarantine when you come back. So at least with 2 jabs, you're free of quarantine,
Your parents, if I may ask, are not in Mumbai, right?
No. They're in Dubai. And once you come back from Middle East, there's quarantine past 6 months. So, I've not been able to travel because of that. So I feel good.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Yes. So as people were saying that it is very difficult to get a spot right now. Even yesterday, people tried to book it, but they could not get it. Today also, a lot of people came in, and in fact, walk-ins are not allowed. So only people with pre-registration who got an appointment. It's not just registration, but they need to also get an appointment, a time slot, and only then they will be allowed to take the vaccination. So 500 people every vaccination center. There are 5 government-run vaccination centers which will be functional today, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. only. And the BMC and government says that tomorrow, from Monday, is when most probably full-fledged vaccination drive will begin. But yes, that is a problem right now, that the vaccination stock is very limited. And over the weekend, Maharashtra got 3 lakh doses and Mumbai got 20,000 doses.
At that time, of course, when Serum Institute, the world's largest vaccine manufacturer there in Pune, but you've had that explosive interview of him saying he had to leave India because of threatening calls he was getting from chief ministers of various states and other people asking where are those vaccines. So, well, people want those vaccines, lucky people who managed to get it there. But let's go across now to Harsha. And Harsha, it's interesting, in Rajasthan today, when you're talking to people, what's top of their mind? Are they looking at the by-election results, or are they worried about what's happening with the virus, how it's going to hit home, and what will happen if one of them gets sick?
Well, Sonia, I'm here at this vaccination center, and I think that is really the concern for everybody. Now, just to give you a sense, the 18 to 44 rollout happened in Rajasthan, but only 2,000 people, 2,397 were vaccinated yesterday. Only that much. Now you see, there are lots and lots of people here, older people, they're trying to get a slot. क्या problem आ रहा है?
प्रॉब्लम कुछ नहीं आ रहा है मैडम, पब्लिक जबरदस्ती बीच में घुस रही है. जो अब आ रहे हैं वो पहले नंबर लेना चाहते हैं, जबकि हम लोग पहले से हैं तो हमारा पहला नंबर आएगा. और कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, बड़ा अच्छा काम चल रहा है.
And you can see that here people are crowding around him. They want to get that vaccine slot. But look at the number of people who have lined up for the vaccine. I would just like my cameraman to move and show you that the number of people who have lined up for a vaccine. Now, is, like you were asking me, is the bipole a concern or is it the vaccination? Let me just ask this gentleman who's just got a shot. अभी जो है राजस्थान में सबके दिमाग में वायरस चल रहा है या 3 बाय इलेक्शन हुए हैं उसका भी कोई सोच रहा है?
देखिए, जो इलेक्शन जो बाई इलेक्शन के रिजल्ट्स जो आने वाले हैं, उस रिजल्ट से क्या मतलब उनको इस टाइम इलेक्शन करवाने ही नहीं चाहिए थे. जब इतना सारा कोविड का ये हो रहा है तो इस टाइम इलेक्शन नहीं करवाने चाहिए उनको. लेकिन सरकार जो है, हाथी के दांत खाने के और होते हैं और दिखाने के और होते हैं. कहती कुछ और है, करती कुछ और है.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. भैया, आप क्या कहना चाहते हैं? जो बाईपोल हुआ है, राजस्थान में भी 3 इलेक्शन हुआ था, अभी कोविड के बारे में सब लोग सोच रहे हैं या बाईपोल की तरफ? उधर देखिए.
तो दोनों तरफ देख रहे हैं. रिजल्ट तो वो तो होना जो आ जाएगा, बाकी पहली जरूरत तो यही है. ये वैक्सीन लगाना जरूरी है. इतनी भयंकर महामारी है तो उससे बचाव का पहला तरीका यही हो अपनाना.
So that's really the defining, I think, bite from Rajasthan. What he said is that the vaccination should really be top priority for the government. Now you can see that here, you know, even in it's such a token rollout, the vaccines are in short supply. This is one of the main centers in Rajasthan, but in Jaipur, but you can see that 18 to 44 are not being vaccinated here, Sonia. So that's leading to a lot of, you know, sort of angst. People are collecting here since the morning. They're trying to get a vaccine slot. There's just not enough vaccines to go around. And that's something the Rajasthan government has been flagging from the very beginning. Sonia.
Right, Harsha. And in fact, unlike Kerala, which Sneha just showed us empty roads and the only people there were double masks, I'm seeing that many of the people around you aren't wearing their masks properly or they're off. And that also is a worry that there's no social distancing or proper masking in these vaccination centers. So we need to really stress those rules. But let's go across now live to Sunil as well, because Sunil, currently the Prime Minister is holding a series of not, well, election meetings, but meetings on oxygen and COVID. What's the latest details on what the agenda is of these meetings?
Well, as we speak, Sonia, he's really trying to see in terms of the human resource development, in terms of augmenting those requirements. As you're well aware, this is now spreading to Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, and it's in that the health system is under stress. And that's the reason why he's trying to ensure that not only are there enough of junior doctors as well as nurses to take care of patients who would become sick. So that is one of the steps. The other, of course, as we saw those unfortunate incidents of people dying yesterday because of lack of oxygen supply, to ensure that last mile connectivity takes place irrespective, and that no more loss of lives takes place, and further strength is given to that last mile connectivity to ensure that every hospital, whoever requires oxygen, is provided at the earliest.
Right, Sunil, thanks so much for that update. So as you pointed out, it's not just human resources, the Prime Minister also to be discussing the oxygen situation. But Srinivasan, let's go back to you for just to see what the latest is happening in election results. I mean, of course, normally the Prime Minister would be tracking these results very closely, as would every minister in the government and top leaders. But right now the focus seems to be COVID as well.
That's right, yes. Clearly, because that has to also take precedent at a time like this. But let's just now bring you up to speed with what's been happening to the results. And let's just actually take you through the breakup between the postal ballots and the actual what are called round leads, which are actual concrete leads. And that'll give you a sense of how that's playing out state after state. Dorab, I hope you're there and are going to sort of walk me through this. This is the page from our own internal election data set. And what that is telling you is that in West Bengal, you've got overall 250 leads, I beg your pardon, 226 leads out of 250 are postal votes. Overall, sorry, you've got 250 leads, out of which 226 are postal votes, 90%. You have 24 round leads.
Yeah.
In the overall leads, it's 130 to 116 Trinamool to the BJP. In the round leads, Trinamool is up 14.
Yes.
BJP is up 8. So,
yes.
I don't know.
No, that's the round leads, not up 8. That's the number of rounds, number of seats is leading.
Yeah, when I said up, I meant leading. I didn't mean, I meant it's leading in 8 seats. Yeah.
So only 10% of the total number of seats that are shown in the overall page come from round leads.
So it's very, very early.
Come from postal leads. Like say Tamil Nadu, which is the next page, where 1/3 of the leads are coming from round leads. Of course, this could still be only the first round. It is coming from round leads, actual votes cast by people.
Yeah.
Similarly, if you move down.
Just before we move down, Dorab, just a second. Dorab, just a second. Before we move down, let's just tell people what's happening in Tamil Nadu with the round leads, where overall total leads are DMK 97, ADMK 84, round leads, DMK 41, ADMK 24. So DMK is almost double in terms of how far it is ahead of the ADMK in the round leads. Yes, Dorab, go ahead with Kerala.
Kerala, it's, I am slightly behind because I'm not in the office. LDF 19, Congress 14 in terms of the round leads and others one. 34 round leads are in. 19 are with the LDF. I don't know what you are.
Okay, we are seeing actually, Dorab, we are seeing 36 round leads.
Yes, I've got 34, so I'm slightly behind you. So why don't
in
you
fact,
read out the numbers?
it's refreshing so fast, but I'll just, so let me do this then, because there's a slight lag for you, that the LDF is at 24, because now we've got 43. LDF is ahead in 24, and the UDF is ahead in 18. So in the round leads, again very early, the LDF is up 6. Overall, LDF at 77 and Congress, UDF at 58.
Yeah.
And in Assam, you've got almost 60% postal votes, so about 40% are actual round leads. Here, if you look at it, you've got, so total overall BJP is at 55 and Congress allies at 31, but in the round leads, BJP is showing right now 26 and the Congress is way behind at 9. But Dorab, as you said, these are all round leads, means this could still be the first round.
Probably is the first round. We don't know really.
We don't know.
But you know, for the BJP, half its lead in Assam comes from round leads. While for the Congress, only a third of its leads come from round leads, 2/3 from postal leads.
Right.
Round leads, as they get more and more, become more reliable. Postal leads are not as reliable.
So,
you know, I see no reason why postal votes, which take a long time to count, cannot be counted the previous day. There is always a gap between the end of the voting and the beginning of the counting. Postal vote, to count 1,000 votes, take probably as long to count 1 lakh, because those are only you press a button and the votes come out of the machine. While here, every single postal vote is counted separately. I think the Election Commission must consider the possibility of counting postal votes the previous day, so we don't have to spend so long in figuring out, you know, when the actual counting begins.
Okay.
Because 98% probably of the voting is round voting and not postal vote.
Right. And finally, just a quick checking in from Puducherry, where you have almost 73% are still postal votes. Surprising. I mean, it's just such a small state, but even so, that's what we have at the moment. You just have, in fact, 2 round leads, 2 to each, 2 to the NRC alliance and 2 to the Congress alliance. Overall, though, NRC is at 10 and Congress is at 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where we are at the moment, Dorab. So it is turning out to be quite slow, but as we move along, the momentum is likely to pick up, is it? And you'll start seeing the rounds being reported a little faster, or is that being a bit optimistic?
I don't think it's a momentum issue, because normally by now, you know, we would, I think it's because of the pandemic, because normally by 10 o'clock, lots more rounds would be in. By, you know, 8:35, 8:40, rounds would start coming in. Today we are at nearly 10 o'clock. And, you know, with a very small number of rounds. So I reckon that, you know, normally we used to be able to call a poll if it wasn't a very tight one by, say, 11:30. Today it will be 2:33, I think. So you better bring your packed lunch and start eating.
Anything parochial yet, but Tamil Nadu is the state that has got the best record when it comes to round leads. They're the
Tamil
fastest.
Nadu is normally the best state in all these.
And Bengal is the slowest, but anyway, let's leave it at that, and we'll just get you more updates on this in just a second. But right now, over to that other set of numbers, which are in a sense more worrying and more significant. For that to Sonia.
No, Vasu, and I don't know if you've seen, Monideepa has just sent information that the Bengal chief minister is trailing in Nandigram in early rounds of counting. That's very, very early. But
very early, yes.
But it's a very significant detail coming there from very early counting that Mamata Banerjee is trailing.